tissues. And in the this go under, this 3 goes under a free cell division. In the 3, in the presence of திருப்பி ஒரு செல் டிவிஷன் நடக்கும். ஃப்ரீ நியூக்ளியஸ் செல் டிவிஷன் நடந்துட்ட பிறகு நிறைய ஃபார்ம் ஆகிடும். நிறைய என்னது எண்டோஸ்பெர்ம், இவங்கெல்லாம் எண்டோஸ்பெர்ம். அது ஒன்றே எண்டோஸ்பெர்ம் தானே. அப்போ இது என்ன ஆகுது, ப்ரெசன்ஸ் ஆஃப் என்ன ஆகுது, திருப்பி 3 ஆகுது, ட்ரைபாய்டு ஆகுது. ட்ரைபாய்டு திருப்பியும் ஒரு செல் டிவிஷன், ஃப்ரீ நியூக்ளியஸ் செல் டிவிஷன் நடந்த பிறகு தான் இது மல்டிபிள் ஆகிடுறாங்க. And this stage is called as free nuclear endosperm stage. அதுக்கப்புறம் செல் வால் which leads to big normal endosperm. இதுதான் endosperm. இதில் கொஞ்சம் தான் இருக்குது. செல் வால் ஃபார்மேஷன் ஆகுது, திருப்பி ஒரு meiosis செல் டிவிஷன் அக்கர் ஆகுது and leads to endosperm which is fully covered. இந்த மிடில் என்ன ஆகுது, endosperm, primary endosperm. அப்போ இந்த ஸ்டேஜில் அது எண்டோஸ்பெர்ம் சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க. ஆக்சுவலி இதில் மட்டும் தான் இந்த ஸ்டேஜில் எம்ப்ரியோன்னு சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க, இல்லை வேறு எதுவும் சொல்லுவாங்க. Cellular, the endosperm becomes cellular. Okay, cellular. That one வந்து endosperm. நிறைய இருந்துச்சுன்னா it's called cellular. Okay. Now let us see how a embryo is developed. First வந்து the zygote. Zygote. How does a zygote form?
Fusion of male and
Female or male?
Fusion of male and female.
அது என்ன வேர்ட், எக்ஸாக்ட் வேர்ட் சொல்லு. நம்ம லாஸ்ட் முன்னாடி ஸ்லைட்ஸ்ல பார்த்தோம். ஃபர்டிலைசேஷன் இல்லை. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து 2 ஸ்பெர்ம் வந்து இது ப்ரொடியூஸ் ஆகும். அந்த ஒரு ஸ்பெர்ம் வந்து எது கூட போய் இதுவாகும், ஃபியூஸ் ஆகும். அப்போ அதுதான் கரெக்ட் டெஃபினிஷன் ஃபார் zygote. ஓகே, when one sperm fuses with the egg is called as zygote. ஓகேவா? ஓகே, அந்த zygote presence-ல என்ன ஆகும்னா terminal cell-னா basis cell. Basis cell are 2 cells in the presence of a cell division and which leads to a 2 cell embryo and a suspensor. 2 embryo na the 2 ஒட்டி இருக்கிறத embryo சொல்வாங்க 2, and the suspensor வந்து இப்படி இருக்கிறது horizontal, vertical இருக்கிறது. horizontal இருக்கிறது வந்து cell embryo and which leads to அது பெருசா ஆகும், அது multiply ஆகி அப்போ இது பெரிய suspensor, திருப்பி அது அப்படியே டபுள் ஆகும். cell embryo மட்டும் டபுள் ஆகும், இது வந்து multiplication ஆகும். So இது ஆகுது, திருப்பியும் a cluster of embryo is formed, that is called as a globular stage and which leads to a hypophysis. Hypophysis na இந்த ஸ்டேஜ் பேர் hypophysis. இந்த hypophysis என்னது, heart stage வரதா hypophysis. அப்போ heart, எதுக்கு heart stage, it's like a heart shape, so it is called as heart stage. அதுக்கப்புறமா லாஸ்ட் ஸ்டேஜ் தான் torpedo stage. torpedo stage வந்து fully a root meristem is formed, that is with a stem meristem and a root meristem in the presence of cotyledons. So this is called, and this is the development of the embryo in plants. Okay. Now let us see some differences about monocot embryo and dicot embryo. This is dicot and monocot. Di na 2, whereas mono no 1. Monocot embryo is a rudimentary stage of the monocot. What is a rudimentary stage? It is a rough stage. Okay, and here is also a rough stage. But it consists of only 1 cotyledon because it is mono, whereas di it is 2. And then the single monocot cotyledon occurs in the terminal position. Where is terminal position? Terminal is here. Okay, இங்க வந்து terminal ல இருக்காங்க monocot. Whereas dicot they occur laterally. Laterally ரெண்டு. Okay, terminal னா இது lateral னா 2. And pupils occurs laterally. And whereas pupil occurs dicetally, that is 2 here. 2. And envelope of the pupil is called as collotype, whereas here it doesn't have any envelope. And the polyriza is the protective sheath of the monocot. Inge vandu doesn't have any protective sheath, and it resembles the true leaves. It doesn't resembles a true leaf. Okay. How do a seed develop? After double fertilization of angiosperms triggers the transformation of ovules into the seed. After fertilization only the triggers the transformation of ovules to seed. Then the seeds are formed inside the fruit. This is an example of a dicot and monocot seed. One is bean and other is wheat. Now let us see the structure of a dicot. Dicot means beans, which is cut longly and this is across. The first one is the present here is pedicel. It has a pedicel and a bud, radicle, seed rent and a cotyledons. Cotyledons nothing but seed. Yeah, seed within the fruit. Seed within the ovules. Correct. Seed leaves அவங்க வெறும் seed இல்ல, seed leaves within the present in the present of the embryo of the seed. embryo குள்ள இருக்கிற cotyledons. ஓகேவா? அவங்க வந்து leaf மாதிரி இருப்பாங்க. leafும் seedம் combined தான் அவங்க. Okay, cotyledons are வந்து generally thick and swollen. Okay, இதெல்லாம் எதுவும் எக்ஸாம் இதுவாக கொடுக்கல. And they are very thick, ரொம்ப thick, swollen இருப்பாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் there are 1 or 2 in the number. There will be 1 or 2 cotyledons. But whereas in dicotyledons many, but monocot is only one will be present, 1 cotyledons. And then this microphyll remain as a small opening. Microphyll is not given here. It remains as a small opening on the seed coat. Seed ஒரு seed இருக்கும், seedக்கு மேல ஒரு coat எப்படினாலும் இருக்கும் தானே. Like example mangoல mangoவா இருக்கும்போது உள்ள அந்த சீட் எடுத்தோம்னாக்கா ஒரு லேயர் இருக்கும். அந்த லேயர் called as microphyll. Okay. The differentiation between the monocot seeds and dicot seeds. முன்னாடி பார்த்தது monocot embryo, dicot embryo. This is monocot seed. This is monona single and here is 2, and they have a long narrow leaf and a partial vein, whereas in dicots it is broad leaf with network of veins, and then they have a vascular bundle scattered, and here it is in ring. It is not scattered actually, and then floral parts in multiples of 3, and here it is multiples of 4 or 5. Like எப்படினா 3 na 3 6 9 12, இதுல வந்து 4 na 4 8 12 16, அப்படினா 5 multiples of 5. Okay, advantages of seeds. Tell me some advantages of seeds. Yeah, used as food. சரி, okay, they are the basis of agriculture. Seeds இல்லாம எதுவும் agriculture நடக்காது. Okay, they are the basis of the agriculture, and then they store food in seeds till they become nutritionally independent. So அவங்க தான் food save பண்ணுவாங்க until they become nutritionally independent, and then these can be stored for a longer time as a food source. அதுக்குள்ளே food வந்து ரொம்ப காலமா கூட ஸ்டோர் பண்ணிக்கலாம். called as a food source. And seeds are the products of sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction நடந்ததுக்கு வந்து இது reason, ஒரு proof வந்து seeds. Okay, as they provide genetic recombination also, and seeds are adaptive for dispersal to form a new plant colonies. ஒரு new plant colonies கூட அவங்களால இது பண்ண முடியும். அவங்க தான ஆகுவாங்க. Okay, seed dispersal. Seed dispersal it is a movement or transfer of seeds away from the parent plant, and this allows seeds to spread in a larger geographical area. ஒரே இடத்துல இருக்காம வேற இடம் போனா நிறைய இடத்துல அவங்க வந்து எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ண முடியும். Okay, let's see what is the significance. Significance வந்து they are very important if the seeds are not seed dispersal is important because if the seeds are not dispersed, many germinating seedlings will grow very close to their parent plant and which they cannot explore to the geographical area. And then this results in the competition like light, water, nutrition, and even every one seedlings as well as the parent kuda unga competition irukum. And then so all these are important for a plants to grow, and the growth of the plants are affected by this without dispersal. Okay, let's see the formation of a fruit. What happens? A fruit is formed after fertilization only, as we all know, as a result of a cell division and the differentiation in the ovary. That is what is that? That is a ripened ovary forms a fruit. And the wall of the ovary develops into a fruit wall called pericarp. Where is pericarp? Okay. And what is pericarp actually? The outer and the middle and the inner is called as pericarp. That is made up of epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. Epicarp, the skin is very hard. The skin on the outer will be very hard. Whereas in mesocarp it is very edible and fleshy. Whereas endocarp it is an inner stony wall. That is the seed madri. Seed. Seed or outer layer. Sorry. Seed or outer layer. Okay, and then seed, what is the seed comprises of? An embryo, endosperm and a seed coat. What does embryo means? A baby plant. And then endosperm, we all know endosperm serves the food reserve. And then a seed coat, seed or a coat. Okay. எல்லா ஃப்ரூட்லயும் மீசோகாப் ஃப்ளெஷியா இருக்காது, சிலதுல கொஞ்சம் ஹார்டா இருக்கும். ஃப்ளெஷி எக்ஸாம்பிள் கோவா, tomato, அதெல்லாம் எக்ஸாம்பிள். whereas the mesocarp ஹார்டா இருந்துச்சுன்னா எக்ஸாம்பிள் bean, pea, mustard, அதெல்லாம் எக்ஸாம்பிள். எதுக்கு? Okay, significance of fruit formation. Fruit formation in the fruit என்ன uses இருக்குது? ஓகே, நமக்கு இல்ல, அவங்களுக்கு என்னதுன்னு கேட்குறேன். ஃப்ரூட்டுக்கு, சீடுக்கு வச்சுக்கேன். சீடுக்கு என்ன சிக்னிஃபிகன்ட்? அதோட சிக்னிஃபிகன்ட் ரோல் என்ன? ஃப்ரூட்டுக்கு யாரை ப்ரொடெக்ட் பண்ணுது? From external injuries. Okay, and then fleshy fruit provide fruits to animals, fleshy fruits which acts as a dispersal agent of their seeds, and then fruits also produce nutrition to its own developing seedlings and also consumed by our humans. And classification of fruits based upon the formation, it is of true fruit, false and true fruit means ovary develops into fruit without any non-carpillary parts. That example tomato and mango. Whereas false in addition to the non-capillary parts like thalamus and then involucre and perineum develop into a fruit. Straight up the ovules fruit ah mara matanga. Adukku badal enna agum? Thalamus, perineum adella iduvagum. Adha fruit develop into a fruit. Whereas parthenocarp na development of fruits without there are seedless fruits. Like example banana. Okay, parthenocarp in fruits in plants la solluvaanga. Idhe animals la without this fertilization enna solluvaanga? Parthenogenesis. Yeah. Okay, some special mechanisms of reproduction. Enna first apomixis and then polyembryony and parthenocarping. These are the artificial or special mechanism for reproduction. And apo is derived from Greek word that is apona, away from, mixed in the act of mixing or mingling. Appo enna meaning? Away from act of mixing, and refers to the occurrence of an asexual reproductive process in the place of normal sexual process. Sexual process nadakra edathila asexual process nadakudhu, involving reduction, division and fertilization. Can be described as a reference to the asexual process. And whereas the polyembryony, it occurs more than one embryo in the seed. Over seed more than one embryo will be present. In the gymnosperms and polyembryony can occur due to the cleavage of growing embryo. So growing embryo occurs in some species of citrus like orange and lemon, and like mango varieties and groundnut. Next one is parthenocarpy. That is the production and development of seedless fruit is called as parthenocarpy. And two types. What is that? Vegetative and stimulative. In vegetative, the seedless fruit can develop even without a stimulus of pollination. Example, pear. But whereas in stimulative, the stimulus of pollution is required for fertilization. Example, grapes. Any doubt with that? That's doubted.
1898
Pollination word. Pollination word 1898 la கண்டுபிடிச்சாங்களா? இல்லையே. ஏதோ ஒரு மெத்தட் இல்ல.
Pollination method
கண்டுபிடிச்சாங்களா?
அவரோட நேம் கூட சொன்னீங்கன்னா நேம்
இருக்கா? Double fertilization. Hey, pollination plant stigma and இது anther இல்ல. Double fertilization எதுல நடக்குது? 1898. இரு சொல்றேன் ஒரே நிமிஷம். என்னமோ ஆக்ஷன் வரும், நவாஷன் நினைக்கிறேன். Navashin. அடுத்த சாப்டர் NAWASCH HIN. In 1898. Okay. The next chapter is human reproduction. Humans are sexually reproducing viviparous, that is giving birth to younger ones, and they are very unisexual, that is male and females are present separately, and they each have a separate reproductive system with reproductive ducts and accessory structures. Okay, now let us see what is a reproductive system is. Actually, humans being show a dimorphism with male and female differs from each other by the number of primary and secondary sex organs, and primary characters are those which are present in both male and females, like external genitalia, while the secondary characters appears after puberty and include a number of traits like thick facial hair and then low pitched voice, but whereas in males and whereas in females a well developed mammary glands and a high pitched voice, etc. Reproductive system is divided into primary and secondary sex organs. Whereas primary it is produce gametes and sex organs, whereas secondary it is doesn't produce any gametes or sex organs but play an important role during the reproduction. Now let us see about the main reproductive system. The first primary is testis. Testis is the main primary organ for men. It is divided. Testis contain. We'll see first testis. These are the male gonads. That is the site where the male gametes or sperms are made. A pair of testes situated outside the abdominal cavity with a scrotum. What is a scrotum? It is a pouch-like structure of pigmented skin. Okay, and the outermost covering of the testis is formed by a dense fibrous membrane called tunica albuginea, and each testis is divided into 200 to 300 compartments called testicular lobules. and each lobule contains a highly convoluted semi-inferior tubules. Blood vessels and nerves are embedded in the loose connective tissues, and I said scrotum is a pouch-like structure of pigmented skin rising from the lower abdominal wall and hanging between the legs. Okay, and the next is semi-inferior tubule. What is semi-inferior tubule? Slide highly convoluted tubules which is contain each lobule contain this semi-inferior tubule, and it of two cells, that is serotyl cells and male germ cells. Serotyl cells are called as nurse cells, and this is spermatogenia. The region outside the semi-inferior tubules called the interstitial spaces contain small blood vessels and the masses of cells called as the Liddle cells. These cells synthesize and secrete the testicular hormones called androgens. Okay, the next is secondary sex organs. That includes accessory duct system and what is the next one is accessory glands. Okay. Okay, what does the accessory duct system do? Actually, it stores and transports the sperms from the testis to outside through urethra. And then it also, what does the male duct include means tubuli, recti, reti, testis, vasa efferentia and epididymis, vas deferens and urethra. The end of the semi-inferior tubules converge and join to form a short straight tubules called tubuli recti. Okay, what is a sperm? A sperm undergoes some physiological maturation and acquiring the increased motility and fertilizing capacity, and in the epididymis. And after that, they pass down to the tail of the epididymis, and they stay for a short period before entering into the two vas deferens. Vas deferens is the vas deferens. Okay, and the vas deferens ascends to a abdomen and loops over the urinary bladder. Again. And then the urethra carries urine from bladder as well as the spermatozoa and secretions from the corpus and prostate glands. And the next is accessory glands, which includes prostate gland, seminal vesicles, bulbourethral corpus gland. Okay, 3. And the what is prostate gland? It actually secretes a milky slight alkaline fluid that contains lipids, enzymes, citric acid, etc. When it is released, it is released during the ejaculation and helps to neutralize the acidic medium of vagina, making sperms more active to swim. And the next one is seminal vesicles. Actually, these secrete a mucus and a watery alkaline fluid that contains fructose that acts as a source for the energy of sperm, and then prostaglandins simulate the uterine contractions for sperm movement, and the clotting protein forms a temporary clot after ejaculation. Calcium and certain other enzymes are also part of seminal plasma. And the next gland is bulbourethral corpus gland. This secretes a mucus and an alkaline fluid into the urethra. This helps in the lubrication of penis and neutralizes urinary acids if present in urethra. And actually, where is situated? Beneath the bladder and behind the urethra. And the next one is external genitals. That is, penis is the external copulatory organs in male. Near the tip of the penis, the spongy tissue is enlarged to form a soft and highly sensitive gland penis covered with a foreskin or a prepuce. And the next one is female reproductive. It is also same as male, that is primary and secondary. Primary includes ovaries, and whereas secondary it is accessory ducts and same accessory glands. Ovary is the primary sex organs in females, and ovaries it produce gametes and several steroidal hormones. And then the shape of it is almond shape. Ovaries are in almond shape and lying in the lower part of the abdomen, and held to broad ligament of double folds of peritoneum called mesovarium. And the next is secondary, which includes accessory ducts. It includes oviducts, ampulla, uterine part, uterus, middle myometrium, inner endometrium and vagina. Okay, let us see each one by one. What is the oviducts? Oviducts are nothing but fallopian tubes. These are small tubes of 10 to 12 centimeter in length, actually scale size, small scale, and lying either side of the uterus near the kidney. and it carries, these tubes carry the egg from the ovary to the uterus. What does it do? Carries eggs from the ovary to uterus and also provided an environment for its fertilization. Ampulla, what is ampulla? Ampulla is here, okay? This is ampulla, this layer. Ampulla, it is nothing but it is a wide, long, wide, thin part of a fallopian tube next to the infundibulum where fertilization takes place. Fertilization takes place. So, upper to that is ampulla. And the next one is uterine part. It passes the uterine wall and communicates with the uterine cavity. And the uterus, it is about 7.5 centimeter long and 5 centimeter wide, which is like an inverted pear shape. Uterus, okay, and it's supported by a ligaments attached to the pelvic wall. These are the ligaments attached to the uterus, that is pelvic wall. And another is middle myometrium. It is a smooth muscle fiber which contracts strongly during the delivery of baby. And the inner endometrium, it is a granular layer with blood vessels. It undergoes cyclic changes during the menstrual cycle. And the last one is vagina. It is about 10 centimeter long and acts as a receptacle for the penis during copulation, allows a passage for menstrual flow and birth canal during parturition. It opens to the exterior by an aperture called vaginal orifice. And the next is mammary glands. These are the paired structures functional in the female mammals only. And these are round, and the breasts are rounded, paired structure located over the pectoral muscles on front of the wall of the thorax. And then in the middle of the breast, it has a nipple surrounded by a circular pigmented area called areola. And it contains glandular tissues and a variable amount of fat only. And these cells secrete, what does secrete? Milk, and then which is stored in cavities or lumens of alveoli. And the tubes of each lobe join to form a mammary duct. And just under the nipples, the lactiferous ducts are present, which gets widened to form a lactiferous sinuses to store milk during the lactation. Lactiferous duct is here. Okay, the next is gametogenesis, the process of formation of haploid gametes from the undifferentiated diploid germ cells is called as gonads. And for sexual reproduction is called as gametogenesis. Gametogenesis in humans is of two types. One is spermatogenesis and other is oogenesis. Okay. Spermatogenesis occurs in male and whereas oogenesis occurs in female. Okay, now let us see how does spermatogenesis occurs. Okay, spermatogenesis is nothing but the formation of spermatozoa in testes which originate from the premordial germ cells, that is PGCS. Premordial germ cells, nothing but PGC. And okay. In spermatogenesis, there are four phases. The first phase is multiplication phase. What has happened here is the undifferentiated germ cells. These are the undifferentiated germ cells present on the side of the semiporous tubules are called as spermatogonia. Okay, these are spermatogonia. These are undifferentiated germ cells on the phase of multiplication phase. And the next phase occurs is growth phase. What happens here? Yeah. Okay, growth phase where the undifferentiated spermatogonia forms into a primary spermocytes, and that is growth phase. Another is maturation phase. Maturation phase happens, each of these primary spermatophytes undergoes a first meiotic division and produces two secondary spermatocytes and undergoes what? First meiotic division and forms a two secondary spermatocytes, and each of that secondary goes and other cell division, that is meiotic cell division, to produce 4 haploid spermatids. First cell division occurs rendu secondary spermatocyte, another cell division occurs 4 haploid spermatids form. Okay. அதுக்கப்புறம் the spermats transform into a spermatozoa is called as spermatogenesis phase. Okay, understood? அப்புறம் இன்னொரு phase that is the differentiation phase. After spermatogenesis then the differentiated phase takes place. அங்க என்ன ஆகும்னா sperm head வந்து gets embedded in the ceratolyte cells. ஒரு ceratolyte cellsக்குள்ள இது போய்டும், உள்ளார head போய்டும், sperm ஓட head. அதுக்கப்புறம் and finally released from the semi-inferous tubule. Semi-inferous tubule என்னது? Structural unit of அதுதான் structural unit of what? Sperm. Okay, அந்த இதுக்குள்ள இருந்து ரிலீஸ் ஆயிட்ட பிறகு அந்த process called as spermination. Spermiation இருக்கு, spermiation இல்ல. Okay, இந்த phase யாரா சொல்லுங்க என்ன நடக்கும் ஃபர்ஸ்ட்? Okay, first என்ன நடக்கும்?
First Gametogenesis with the different two chromosomes.
அப்படி இல்ல, ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து undifferentiated cells எல்லாம் இருப்பாங்க. அதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் பிரைமரியா ஆகுறாங்க. ஓகே, அது வந்து மல்டிப்ளை ஆயிட்டு பிரைமரி ஆகுறாங்க. அதுக்கு அப்புறம் growthல என்ன நடக்குது? பிரைமரி வந்து செகண்டரி ஆகுது, செகண்டரி 2 cells ஆகுது. அதுக்கு அப்புறம் the presence of second cell division என்ன நடக்கும்? 4 haploid spermatids produce ஆகுது. Spermatids. Okay, and the process called as spermatogenesis. அப்புறம் after spermatogenesis என்ன நடக்கும்? Sperm ஓட head வந்து go and attach to the ceratolyte cells and release from the புரியலையா? புரியலையா? ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து growthல வந்து அந்த spermatogenesis differentiate to form a primary. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து primary, அப்ப எந்த இதுவும் நடக்காது. அதுக்கு அப்புறமா இந்த maturation phaseல தான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் meiotic cell division நடக்குது. அப்போ which leads to a secondary, 2 secondary spermatocyte ஆகுது. திருப்பி இன்னொரு cell division நடக்கும்போது தான் it is 4 haploid spermatids ஆகுது. In the process called as spermatogenesis. அதுக்கப்புறம் after spermatization what happens? The sperm head attaches into the ceratolyte cells and released from the semi-inferous tubules, and that is called as and the process called as spermiation. புரியுதா? எனக்கு புரியலையா? இது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து அவங்க நார்மலா இருக்காங்க, அன்டிஃபரன்ஷியேட்டடா செல்லா இருக்காங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் பிரைமரியா ஆகுறாங்க, பிரைமரி செல்ஸா ஆகுறாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து அவங்க செகண்டரி ஸ்பெர்மட்டோஃபைட் ஆகுறாங்க. அப்புறம் செகண்டரி ஸ்பெர்மட்டோஃபைட் பிறகுதான் செல் டிவிஷன், ஃபர்ஸ்ட் செல் டிவிஷன் நடக்குது. அந்த செல் டிவிஷன்ல தான் 2 secondary spermatocyte ப்ரொடியூஸ் ஆகுது. இன்னொரு செல் டிவிஷன்ல வந்து 4 haploid spermatids ஆகுது. அந்த ப்ராசஸ் பேர் தான் spermatogenesis. அப்புறமா அந்த after spermatogenesis sperms வந்து எங்க ஆகும்? அதுக்கப்புறம் அது released from the semi-inferous. அந்த ப்ராசஸ் பேர் தான் spermiation. Okay, let us see what are the hormones regulates in the spermatogenesis. The first one is follicle stimulating hormone. What does it do is informs the spermatogenetic cells, that is cells from the sperm, to produce testosterone which stimulates the spermatogenesis. Okay, the hormone which stimulates the spermatogenesis is called as follicle. And the next is luteinizing hormones which results in the testosterone being released, triggering spermatogenesis. And next is testosterone, the hormone which controls the regulations of the FSH and LH. When the sperm high is count, restricts FHS release. When it's low, allows FHS to release to control. Higher இருந்தா stop பண்ணிடும் அந்த testosterone, வேண்டாம் போதும் நிறைய இருக்கு அப்படின்னு. Lower இருக்கும்போது இல்ல வேணும் increase பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு இதாகுது. And these both are found in male and female. However, they play a role within the production of the ova. The next one is structure of a human sperm. Actually, a mature sperm is a microscopic. It can be seen with the naked eyes, and the structure is about 2 to 5 micrometer in diameter and 60 micrometer in long. That is length. and the head is very flat and oval in shape. The head is flat and oval in shape and composed of a large haploid nucleus. Haploid nucleus, composed of a haploid nucleus, and this structure is called as acrosome. This structure is called acrosome, and it contains a hydrolytic enzymes. It also includes the hydrolytic enzymes which will be helpful in the contact to penetrate to the egg. Egg ku vandu poi search பண்ணும்போது அந்த enzymes வந்து யூஸ் ஆகுது. அந்த enzyme பேர் வந்து hydrolytic enzyme. And the neck, it is very short, contains 2 centrioles, one lying behind and other at the right angle. Okay, the neck is very short and contains 2 centrioles. Okay, one is behind and one is right to it. And then the proximal centriole plays a key role in the cleavage of the zygote. The one centriole plays an important role in the cleavage of the zygote, and another gives an axial filament of the sperm. And the next is middle piece. Middle piece is this is a middle piece. It is a cylindrical in shape and known as a powerhouse of the sperm. That middle piece is called as the they are the powerhouse of the sperm. Powerhouse of the mitochondria. It possesses many mitochondria to produce energy to the movement of the tail, and that facilitates sperm motility essential for fertilization. The tail now helps in the motility, that is movement during the fertilization. And the last one is tail. It is very long, slender and tapering structure of cytoplasm. It's very long, palm mari irukku. Adukapram vandu இப்போ வந்து the sperms வந்து fails to contact the ovary, அப்பனா இது வந்து it will die, that's all. It exhausts its energy and dies. Okay, the next process, it is a process of formation of the mature female gamete, is called as oogenesis. What happens in oogenesis? Same as multiplication phase, growth and maturation. But where is there extra or phase or last? End of phase. Differentiation or last are the spermation. Okay. Now let us see the structure of ovum. Ovum actually a rounded non-motile cell. It cannot move, whereas a sperm only moves. So it is a non-motile cell. In humans, the ovum is yolk-free. Yolk-free, that is alicetal, and it is an abundant cytoplasm called ooplasm, having a large number of cells. Ooplasm solvanga. Okay, now let us see the process. What happens first? Germ cell ஒரே ஒரு oogoneum, it goes a cell division, that is mitosis, in the additional of 2. ஒன்னு இருக்கும், mitosisல 2 இருக்கும், where the multiplication takes place in the ovary of the female fetus only. And the next phase, it is growth phase. In the growth phase என்ன நடக்கும்னா அந்த ரெண்டு அந்த இது திருப்பி primary oocyte ஆகும். And the primary oocyte again go to meiosis. It produces 2 body. First one is first polar body, and this is secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte. Okay, அதுக்கப்புறம் திருப்பி அந்த first என்ன நடக்கும், mature ஆகும். அது திருப்பி mature ஆயிட்டு தான் secondary polar bodies. And whereas the secondary oocyte அப்போ அந்த டைம்ல sperm attach ஆகும். அந்த ப்ராசஸ்ல fertilization அப்போ sperm attach ஆச்சுன்னா meiosis 2ல mature ovum with female pronucleus, that is sperm is present, and after that a nucleus fuse. This is called, and the last one is zygote. Zygote nothing but the formation of sperm and the egg leads to a zygote formation. இது மொத்தம் 3 phase: multiplication, growth and maturation. Okay, when the sperm goes attached to the fertilization, and the முன்னாடி stage ovulation. Okay, and the male pronucleus occurs as a result of fertilization. Okay, then next is menstrual cycle. It is a reproductive cycle in the all female primates, that is like example monkeys, apes and human beings. And the first menstruation begins at the puberty, and it's called as what? menarche. Menarche. Okay, starting of the menstrual cycle is called as menarche. Okay, the first menstruation begins at the puberty and that phase is called as menarche. And whereas when the puberty ends, that is the age of 50, that is called as menopause. When the menstrual cycle ends, it's called as menopause. Begins now? Okay. Appo in between the age, appo the menstrual cycle nadakumla, that actually the menstrual period is about 20 to 29 days interval it will happen. Okay, first let us see this first stage, that is menstrual phase. That is bleeding phase. Bleeding phase. What happens here is the cycle starts with the menstrual phase and the cycle lasts up to 3 to 5 days. If fertilization doesn't occur, what happens is the unfertilized egg undergoes the autolysis. Autolysis is destruction of the cells by its own enzyme. Destruction na the own cells in presence of enzymes. That is called autolysis. In the menstrual phase, if there is no any fertilization occurred, what happens? The cell goes autolysis, that is destruction of its own cells by the enzymes. அதனால என்ன ஆகும்னா LH level வந்து reduction of LH level, it leads to reduction of LH என்னது ஹார்மோன் வந்து decrease ஆயிடும். அது release decrease ஆனதால it causes regression and corpus luteum by regression of corpus luteum இருக்கா இந்த phase-ல regression of corpus luteum occurs by autolysis. Autolysis nala it leads to regression of corpus luteum, and this is what happens na, this leads to a progesterone fall in the body. This is the first phase, that is menstrual phase. Okay, and the next is follicular phase. It is otherwise known as proliferative phase. Follicular phase is otherwise known as proliferative phase. It lasts about 14 days. And whereas menstrual phase takes place in 5 days. Whereas this follicular phase 14 days. Otherwise known as proliferative phase. Okay. இது என்ன ஆகும்னா the primary follicle வந்து ஓவரியா grow ஆகும். Okay, the primary follicles in the ovary ல இருக்க என்ன இருக்கு primary follicle இருக்கு, they grow and become a mature Graafian follicle. Okay, இதுல என்ன ஆகும்னா ovary ல இருக்க primary follicle grows and forms into a and simultaneously the endometrium of the uterus regenerates through proliferation. Proliferation is nothing but the follicular phase. And then the changes in the ovary and the uterus are induced by the changes in the level of the pituitary and the ovarian hormones. In male வந்து என்னென்ன ஹார்மோன்ஸ்லாம் இது ஆகுது plays a vital testosterone, LH அப்புறம் சொல்லுங்க. Okay, but whereas in female it is pituitary and ovarian hormones play an important role in menstrual cycle. Okay. Okay, what happens in menstrual cycle? I mean menstrual phase, that is bleeding phase. Menstrual phase it lasts up to 3 to 5 days. When there is no any fertilization occurs, what happens? It occurs cell autolysis, that is destruction of the own cells. அதுக்கப்புறம் அந்த autolysisனால it leads to regression of corpus luteum and thus causes a significant fall of progesterone in the blood. That is menstrual phase or bleeding phase. And next is follicular phase. It happens about 14 days. And the primary follicles, what happens is the ovary la primary follicle irukum. Primary follicle irukum. Adu vandu enna agum? It grows to a mature Graafian follicle. அதுக்கப்புறம் the changes in the ovary ல உள்ள changes of uterus ல changes நடக்கும். That is due to pituitary and what hormone I said, ovarian hormones, that nothing but estrogen and follicle stimulating hormone. In the follicular phase there will be an increased amount of luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone. இது வந்து secretion வந்து high-ஆ இருக்கும் in follicular phase, which develops into a follicular development as a set of the secretion of estrogen by growing by the growing follicles. And the next is ovulatory phase, otherwise known as ovulation phase. In the time la வந்து both luteinizing hormone and what is that? Another hormone. FSH nothing but attain a peak level. ரொம்ப high ஆயிடும் the ovulation phase ல. That is in the middle of the cycle, about 14th day தான் the ovulation நடக்கும். Ovulation phase வந்து 14th day நடக்கும். அந்த டைம்ல வந்து luteinizing hormone and FSH hormone வந்து attain a very high peak level in the blood. Okay, that's it. சொல்லுங்க இது. Menstrual cycle மாதிரி தெரியல, கீழே போட்டுருச்சா? Okay. அப்போ வந்து rapid secretion of LH in the follicular, in the ovulation phase is known as LH surge. ஏன்னா அது high level இருக்கும்போது அந்த பேர் வந்து LH இந்த luteinizing hormone surge னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அது வந்து high rapid secretion of LH and which இது high-ஆ இருக்கும்போது which induces the Graafian follicle வந்து rupture ஆயிடும். அது high-ஆ இருக்கனால which induces the Graafian follicle rupture. In before stage வந்து Graafian follicle வந்து mature-ஆ grow ஆகி இருக்கும். அப்போ இந்த ஸ்டேஜ்ல ரொம்ப LH வந்து ரொம்ப அதிகமாயிட்டு அதை வந்து இது இன்டியூஸ் பண்ணி என்ன ஆயிடும்? ரப்சர் பண்ணிடும் அந்த high இருக்கனால. And next is the ovulation phase is followed by a luteal phase. The luteal phase is the egg get released. And இத முடிஞ்சதுக்கு திருப்பியும் egg release ஆயிடும். திருப்பியும் menstrual phase ஸ்டார்டிங்ல இருந்து ஆயிடும். Okay, இது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டே ஆமா சொல்லுங்க. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் phase என்ன நடக்கும்? அப்புறம் இந்த phase வந்து LH வந்து ரொம்ப கம்மியா இருக்கும், which leads to regression of corpus luteum. Okay, இந்த phase என்ன நடக்குது? அதுக்கப்புறம் அந்த follicle phase என்ன நடக்கும்? 14 days நடக்கும். அப்புறம் என்ன ஆகும்? primary follicle வந்து Graafian follicle மாறும், mature ஆயிடும். அந்த ஓவரிக்குள்ள இருக்க primary follicle வந்து mature ஆயிடும் to a Graafian follicle. அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து இந்த இடத்துல என்ன நடக்கும்னா regeneration of uterus through proliferation occurs. Okay, அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் என்ன ஆகும்? ovulation phase. அதுல நடக்கும் ovulation. அது ஒரு நாள் 14 days அந்த ovulation phase. இந்த phase வந்து அப்ப இந்த இது high ஆயிடுது, mature ஆயிடுது. அப்ப இது rupture ஆகும் because of high level of FSH and luteinizing hormone. இது முடிஞ்சிட்ட பிறகு நாம egg release ஆகிட்ட பிறகு இது luteinizing phase வந்து it is about 14 days அப்புறம் நடக்குதா progesterone is higher in phase ovulation phase yeah progesterone I'm sorry progesterone கம்மியா இந்த phase வந்து கம்மியா இருக்கும் menstrual phase தான் கம்மியா இருக்கும் okay LLH FSH ரொம்ப higher இருக்கும் okay எப்படினா எப்போ வந்து break ஆகும் mature gravitate follicle rupture of gravitate follicle அதிலிருந்து வந்து ஓவம் வந்து ரிலீஸ் ஆகுது ஓகே that is called as ovulation and during pregnancy all these events are stopped as you know and all the events of menstrual cycle stop and there is no menstruation in the pregnancy period in the absence of the fertilization the corpus luteum regenerates this causes the endometrium leading to the resulting in the menstruation ovulation pregnancy menstrual cycle okay next thing what is fertilization fertilization and the discharge of the semen into the female's vagina close to the cervix during cortex is called as fertilization I'm sorry insemination and fertilization can only occur if the ovum and the sperm fuse together and transport simultaneously to the junction this process of fusion of sperm with the ovum is called as okay இது வந்து நார்மலோட egg versus sperm egg வந்து non-motile whereas sperm it is very much can move so அதுதான் இவ்ளோ இதுல வந்து அது வந்து அட்ராக்ட் பண்ணும் வரதுக்கு and now let us see the process okay இது first process என்னன்னா sperm makes contact the egg not only one sperm main sperm make contact the ovum egg in the presence of zona pellucida first வந்து contact ஆகும் அதுக்கப்புறம் what happens is the top of the acrosome sperm ஓட ஹெட்க்கு கீழ இருக்குது sperm ஓட ஹெட்ல இருக்குது acrosome அந்த acrosome reacts the zona pellucida and then what happens is hydrolytic enzymes they break into and go into the egg okay the presence of hydrolytic enzymes present in top of the acrosome yeah what happens is now the acrosome reacts with the perivitral space that is this is the perivitral space it enters into the egg and then in the presence it enters but the egg is covered with the protein receptors so easier first வந்து யார் வரும்னா first வந்து zona pellucida டைப் பண்ணிட்டு அதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் வந்து protein receptor க்கு போணும் that is in the perivitral space அதுக்கு அப்புறம் what happens the sperm and the egg fuses that is inside first போயிட்டாங்க அதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் fuses into the இது அப்புறம் sperm's nucleus enters into the egg it enters into the egg and what happens there is there enters a vitelline layer impenetrable to sperm அப்ப அது உள்ள போயிட்ட பிறகு இதுதான் vitelline layer இந்த இதுக்கு வந்து இது ஆகுது டச் ஆகுது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து யார் வந்து இது பண்ணுவாங்க வந்து zona pellucida which is the acrosome தான் இந்த sperm head தான் ஆகும் அதுக்கு அப்புறமா hydrolytic enzymes அவங்கனால வந்து they break through it அதுக்கு அப்புறம் they enter to a protein receptor அந்த ஸ்பேஸ் பேர் வந்து என்னது ஸ்பேஸ் அந்த இதுக்கு போயிட்ட பிறகு they fused with the plasma membrane of the sperm and egg fuse and then sperm nucleus enters the first வந்து sperm ஓட plasma membrane தான் enter ஆகுது, அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் nucleus, அதுக்கப்புறம் that is called the what layer? இங்க இருக்குது vitelline, vitelline layer. This is a process of fertilization. Okay, how the sex of a baby is determined? That is, it is male or female, how it is determined? In the stage போல இருக்குல, I mean with the fuses, in the fuses க்கு அப்புறம்னா அது வந்து male or female அந்த baby வந்து determine பண்ணுவாங்க. இந்த ஸ்டேஜ்க்கு அப்புறம், the last stage க்கு அப்புறம் அது என்னன்னா, after the fusion of the male and the female gametes of the zygote would carry either XX or XY. XX na female, XX na female, whereas XY is male. Okay. இப்போ இந்த ஸ்டேஜ்ல வந்து என்ன இதுன்னு கண்டுபிடிப்போம் நம்ம, என்ன இதுன்னு டிட்டர்மைன் ஆகுது. அப்போ வந்து இந்த ஸ்பெர்ம் வந்து ஒன்று XX கேரி பண்ணும், இல்லைன்னா XY கேரி பண்ணும் இந்த ஸ்பெர்மே. ஆனால் எக்கு வந்து எப்பவுமே XX தான் இருக்குது. அப்போ இது XX, இதுவும் XXனா X கேர்ள். XX தான் இருக்கு. இது என்ன கொண்டு போகுது அதுதான் டிட்டர்மைன் பண்ணுது, அந்த எக்கு இல்லை. எக்கு ஏற்கனவே XX, இந்த மேல் வந்து இந்த ஸ்பெர்ம் வந்து XY கொண்டு போச்சுன்னா it is XY, XX னா XX. இது முடிஞ்சிட்டு. ஓகே, embryonic development, like எப்படின்னா the fertilized egg வந்து எப்படி வந்து ஒரு fetus-ஆ மாறுது. That is the embryonic development. Embryonic development. First வந்து அவங்க வந்து ஒரு fertilized egg இருக்காங்க, இந்த which contains a polar body and a pronuclei and a zona. Zona is the outer layer of the fertilized egg. And first அப்புறம் day, அது வந்து day 1ல வந்து இது வந்து fertilization அப்புறம் அந்த ஃபியூஸ்லாம் ஆயிட்ட பிறகு இந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து fertilized egg இருக்காங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன ஆகுறாங்க, day 3ல வந்து they become a 8 cell zygote in the presence of a cell division occur ஆகும். அங்க cell meiotic cell division occurs in the, they forms into an 8 cell zygote and which forms a blastomere. And the blastomere form ஆயிட்ட பிறகு, that is third day. அந்த third dayலே வந்து ஒரு cell adhesion நடக்குது, adhesion, that is tight cell junction. அவங்க நல்லா கம்பைன் ஆகி, இது வந்து மேலே இருக்கும், பட் இங்கே வந்து ஃபுல்லாக கம்பைன் ஆகிடும், ஒட்டி ஆகிட்டு, that is cell adhesion, cell adhesion sticking together. அதுக்கப்புறமா வந்து fourth dayல வந்து என்ன ஆகுறாங்கன்னா 16 cell morula is formed, that is a different inner cell and the outer cell is formed. இங்கே வந்து எல்லாமே ஒரே ஒரு செல் தான், inner outer இல்லை, பட் இங்கே வந்து it is inner and outer cell. And the next day, that is 5th dayல வந்து என்ன ஆகும்னா ஒரு பெரிய blastocyte ஃபார்ம் ஆகுது. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து ஒரு blastomere தான் இருக்கு செகண்ட் டேல, தேர்ட் டேல, whereas இந்த 5th டேல வந்து ஒரு பெரிய blastocyte which is covered with the trophoblast and where the inner mass வந்து அது ஒரு ஃபார்ம் ஆகும், எல்லாமே இன்னரா உள்ள ஆயிடும். அப்போ ஒரு கம்பைன் பிளாக்ல இருக்கு, இப்போ வந்து ஒண்ணே ஒன்று தான் இருக்கு, இங்க வந்து அப்போ நிறைய ஆயிடும். அது உள்ள இருக்க கேவிட்டி பேர் வந்து blastocholic cavity, இது called as a blastocyte. அதுக்கப்புறமா வந்து இந்த 6th டே வந்து என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா, அது இந்த லேயர் இருக்குல்ல அதுல விட்டு வெளியே வருது. ஓகே, அது வந்து ஜோனா ஹேட்சிங். திஸ் லேயர் வந்து ஜோனா தானே, ஜோனா, அந்த ஜோனால இருந்து ஹேட்ச் ஆகுது. ஒரு இதுதான் எக் வச்சுக்கோ, இதுதான் எக் ஷெல், இது உள்ள இருக்க அந்த எக் சாக், அப்போ அது வந்து ஹேட்ச் ஆகுது. அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன ஆகுது, it goes into the uterine wall. அந்த ஜோனால இருந்து வெளியே வந்துட்ட பிறகு uterine wall குள்ள போய் இன்வேட் ஆகுது. uterine wall epithelium invades into the uterine wall the day 7 and the day 8 இல்லாம 9ல என்ன நடக்குதுன்னா, அது உள்ள இன்வேட் ஆயிட்ட பிறகு செல்ஸ் வந்து டிஃபரன்ஷியேட் ஆகுது, like epiblast, hypoblast and trophoblast. And then the 12th day biamular disc வந்து ஃபார்ம் ஆகுது. லைக் biamular ரெண்டு ஒரு டிஸ்க் ஃபார்ம் ஆகுது. one is made up of hypoblast and another is epiblast. நல்ல ஒரு டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷனா வருது, covered by a what is that, trophoblast. the yellow is trophoblast. அப்போ டிஃபரன்சியேஷனா இருக்கு. அதுக்கப்புறம் இது வந்து 12th day. 14th day என்ன நடக்குது, mesoderm ஃபார்ம்ஸ் ஆகுது. யா, where the primitive strike, அங்க உள்ள எல்லாம் உள்ள கம்பைன் உள்ள போற மாதிரி ஆயிடும் அது. So mesoderms are formed and the next 18th stageல தான் mesoderm வந்து எல்லாம் ஸ்ப்ரெட் ஆகும். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஒரு இதுவா ஒரு ரவுண்டா இருக்கிறது வந்து spread out. Amniotic sac varudhu, and then exocolumn, chorion, yolk sac, mesoderm, everything is come. And the last is amniotic sac grows. Idhula irundha oru baby form agudhu. Appo baby form aitla first enna agudna digestive tract varudhu, appuram umbilical cord, chorion, amnioid, embryo. Idu vandu first 23 days, that is 1 month. After 1 month heart form ஆகுது ஒரு எம்ப்ரியோக்கு, ஒரு ஃபீட்டஸ்ல. ஓகே, ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இது பண்றது வந்து டைஜஸ்டிவ் ட்ராக்ட் வந்துட்ட பிறகு தான் ஹார்ட் வருது. நெக்ஸ்ட் இஸ் ஹார்ட். 1 month ஆகுதுக்குள்ள ஹார்ட் வந்துரும். Okay, what are the changes happens during pregnancy? What happens is a finger-like projection appears on the trophoblast called chroniac villi. Trophoblast chroniac villi எங்க இருக்கு? Where is trophoblast? 9th. Okay, 8th la வந்து trophoblast yellow color. அப்போ பாரு, இது chorion. அப்போ trophoblast கூடயே லாஸ்ட்ல தான் ஒரு chroniac villi is formed, which is surrounded by a uterine tissue and a maternal blood. The chroniac villi and the uterine tissue become interdigested with each other and jointly form a structure between a functional unit between fetus and a mother's body called as placenta. Okay, what is placenta? Nothing but the functional unit which links mother and the fetus. And what is a placenta? Placenta, it is a feto-maternal organ, and then it composed of, it has two components. One is fetal part and maternal part. Fetal part develops from the chroniac sac, and the maternal part develops from the endometrium. And the placenta and the umbilical cord are the transport system for substances between the mother and the fetus. That is vessels in the umbilical cord. And what are the functions of placenta? It gives protection, nutrition, respiration, secretion and hormone production to the baby. Yes, fetus. And the next is gastrulation. What happens immediately after implantation? The inner cell differentiates into an outer layer called ectoderm and an inner layer endoderm. Okay, the trophoblast, the inner cell irukla, adu vandu odane vandu they differentiate into an ectoderm and an endoderm. Ectoderm and an endoderm. Endoderm is nothing but the inner layer, and ectoderm is the outer layer of the endoderm. And what happens next is that is divided into a mesoderm, which converts into a mesoderm in the presence of a meiotic cell division. And this process, this three-structure process is called as gastrulation. This happens after implantation. The cell mass differentiates into the outer layer called ectoderm and an inner layer endoderm, and a mesosome develops between the ectoderm and the endoderm. Yes, and this transformation of the blastocyte to the three-layered structure is called as yes. And the next is what changes happens in embryo. What happens? Actually, the pregnancy is about 9 months, and after 1 month of pregnancy, fetus heart is formed, as I said. And the first sign of growing fetus may be noticed by listening to the heart and carefully through stethoscope. And by the end of the 2nd month, the fetus develops limbs and digits, that is hands and limbs and legs. By the end of 12th week, the major organs and external genitalia are developed in 12th week. The 12th week na 2nd month end. Okay, 3rd month end. And the first movement of the fetus can be, and the appearance of the hair can be observed during the 5th month only. And by the end of 12th week, that is 2nd trimester, the body is covered with fine hair, eyelids get separated and eyelashes are formed. By the end of the 9th pregnancy, the fetus becomes fully developed and is ready for delivery. What is maturation? It is a process of delivery of the fetus called as maturation. It is induced by the new complex endocrine mechanism. Epo the fetus veliye varudhu paathaanga, it is induced by the endocrine mechanism. And the signals of the maturation, like maybe when the induced mild uterine contraction called fetal ejection reflex, nothing but the signal for maturation upon the time of delivery. And how it triggers this triggers the release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary, that is from mother's pituitary gland, and then it is stimulated in reflex between the urinary contraction and oxygen secretion continues, resulting in the stronger contractions. Soon after the birth of the baby, the placenta is expelled out of the uterus. Placenta out of the uterus, and the relaxant hormone relaxes the pelvic ligaments of the mother to prepare it for the childbirth. And next one is lactation. Lactation nothing but the production and the release of the what? Yeah, mother milk of the milk by the mammillary glands by the mother after once the baby is born. And the first milk which comes out of the mother's mammillary gland just after the childbirth is called as colostrum. First time vara milk peru is colostrum, and it is rich in proteins and energy along with the antibodies to provide a passive immunity to the newborn. Avanga da first kudukkuradhu antibodies to fetus through mother's milk only. Okay, check it out. Okay.